It's so good. It's so good. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Lose Weight Sarah, where I'm on a mission to lose 100 pounds my way. I am coming to you from my kitchen today because I really wanted to share with you this delicious and easy Instant Pot black bean soup recipe that I found. I found this really simple recipe on Taste of Home's website, and I will link the original recipe in the description below. So if you want to check that out and have step-by-step instructions, head over there. Now keep in mind, I am making a few modifications due to one, a dietary restriction, and two, some of my own personal health goals. So I will note those variations as I go through the recipe. So for this recipe, you're going to need a little bit of equipment and a few really simple ingredients. The first thing you're going to need is at least a 6-quart Instant Pot or other pressure cooker. I'm actually using my 8-quart Instant Pot Luxe. You're also going to need an immersion blender or some other type of blender that can handle hot liquids. If you're using a regular blender, my understanding is it could be dangerous, so make sure that whatever you're using to blend your soup is safe for hot foods.
So our ingredients are going to include one 32-ounce container of vegetable broth, 1 can of golden corn kernels. You want to make sure when you drain these that you take a paper towel and lightly press out any excess moisture in the corn. We'll also have 2 cans of black beans, rinsed and drained, 3 ounces of tomato paste. For our spices, we're going to have 2 tablespoons of ground cumin, 2 tablespoons of ground onion, 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Last but not least, we'll have some coarsely chopped red bell pepper. You just need 1 bell pepper, although you could add more if you wanted to. And then for garnish, we're going to have some freshly chopped cilantro. Now I know cilantro is a little bit of a controversial ingredient, so if you don't want to include that, you don't have to.
So now that we've got our ingredients ready to go, we're gonna get started. This is gonna be super simple, super quick, and super delicious. The cool thing about this recipe is it's so super simple and basic that you can absolutely build on it and make it even better. I'm going to just be making the basic recipe today, but you could absolutely add shredded chicken, ground beef, or ground turkey. You could add pretty much anything that your heart desires, and it's gonna make this soup taste really even extra awesome. For my personal toppings, I prefer just a little bit of Greek yogurt on top, and I'll show you guys that and give you all the macros when we're done. Adding that Greek yogurt gives it a little bit of creaminess and a little bit of tang, and it also adds some much needed added protein. All right, let's get started. I'm so excited because I'm super hungry. So the very first thing that we want to do is set our Instant Pot to saute mode.
We're going to go ahead and just put it at the normal setting.
Now that our Instant Pot is reading hot on saute mode, we're going to go ahead and add in the 1 teaspoon of olive oil, and then we're going to start toasting our corn. Make sure you keep the bowl that you had your corn in handy because we're actually going to be putting it back in here once we toast it. Now what we want to do is just saute this corn until it starts getting a nice golden brown color around the edges of the kernels. How much time this takes is generally a matter of how much moisture you were able to get out of the corn. Obviously, the more water that's in it, the longer it will take to saute to a golden brown. The first time I made this recipe, it took me about 6 minutes to get it nice and toasted. It smells so good. You definitely don't want to over stir this. The first time I made it, I found that I was stirring it a lot because I was worried about it burning. Well, that actually just made it take longer to toast, I think. And it also started breaking apart some of the corn, and we don't really want to do that. So maybe a good word of advice is to stir it maybe once a minute for the couple minutes that it's going to take to cook. Okay, our corn is ready to come out of the pot, but don't turn off the saute feature just yet. Once you take your corn out of the pot, you're gonna notice that there's a little bit of burnt bits from the corn on the bottom. We're gonna start by just adding a little bit of our vegetable broth into the pot. That way we can deglaze the bottom and get all that yummy toasted corn flavor into our broth. Basically what you're gonna do, once you have poured a little bit, just maybe a quarter cup of the vegetable broth into the pot, just take your spoon and scrape up all those brown bits. And don't worry if there's a little bit of corn kernels left in the pot. You're gonna end up blending your soup, so it won't really matter anyway. Once you've got all those little brown bits up, it's time to add in our 3 ounces of tomato paste. Now this is not in the original recipe, but I do this to add a little flavor since I have an allergy to onion and garlic. I can't digest it well, so this just adds an extra little flavor for me. You do not have to put this in if you don't want to. Once your tomato paste has cooked down a little bit and into that bit of broth, you can go ahead and add in our seasoning mix as well. If that makes it a little bit too thick, just mix in a little bit more broth so that it is not too thick of a paste. Once your paste and your spices are all mixed in and really well combined, we've created the base for our soups. We can go ahead and turn that saute setting off and add in the rest of the ingredients before we start to pressure cook. So now what we want to do is add in the beans and the red pepper and then the remainder of that container of vegetable broth. You don't even have to stir it, just dump it right in. Now that we've got all of our ingredients in the pot, we want to go ahead and put on the lid. Then we are going to pressure cook. On my model, I have to hit the manual button, and we're gonna set that for 5 minutes. Don't forget when you put your pressure cooker lid on that you need to make sure that the sealing valve is set to sealing. Once your Instant Pot gets going, this will probably take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. We wanna let it go for the full amount of time, and before we release the pressure, we're gonna give it 5 minutes to naturally release some of the pressure. That way we don't have a whole ton of soup splattering us all over. So while that's going, I'm gonna go do some cleaning up and we'll be back to finish off our delicious black bean soup. So our soup is just about done pressure cooking. Once the pressure cook cycle is over, it's gonna beep for us, and then we will wait 5 minutes to let some of that pressure naturally release. Now that we've let this naturally release, we're gonna go ahead and turn off the pot and hit the cancel button, and then we're going to flip the sealing vent to venting. All right, so all the pressure is released and it smells so good in here. You can really smell almost all of the ingredients. You get a little bit of the tomato, you get some of the cumin, you can smell the sweetness of the red bell pepper in here. I am getting so hungry just smelling this. So why don't we go ahead and open it up and do our last step, which is gonna be to blend it all together. Okay, so our last step is to hit this with our immersion blender. If you don't have an immersion blender, that's okay. Just make sure that whatever blender you're using, like I said earlier, can handle hot liquids. This is gonna be piping hot, so you definitely need to be very careful as you're blending, but we wanna make this completely smooth. We don't want any chunks of anything in here. It's just a totally smooth soup, and we're gonna blend all of these flavors all together. Oh, this smells so awesome. I'm so hungry. I can't wait to eat this. Now let's talk about toppings. So the toppings that I'm going to be using are about 20 grams of fat-free cheddar cheese. I also have about 50 grams of plain Greek yogurt. That's gonna add in some protein and just some delicious creaminess to the soup. And don't forget, once you serve this up, you're gonna go ahead and top it with the toasted corn that we made earlier. I'm gonna use about a 1/4 cup in my bowl. The other ingredient that you will garnish with is going to be that freshly chopped cilantro. I can't wait anymore, guys. We gotta dig in. I'm gonna serve this up. Okay, so before I dig into this, I do want to tell you about the macros for it. It is so jam-packed healthy. I have a huge serving. You can see this is a pretty big bowl here, but the total calories are 465. That includes 7 grams of fat, 54 grams of carbohydrates, 23 grams of protein with 12 grams of fiber. And depending on how much you like to eat, the regular serving size would be 1 cup, so that would be adjusted. I gave you the macros for the total amount that I have, which is a 1.5 cups of soup, 51 grams of Greek yogurt, and 21 grams of fat-free cheddar cheese. All right, I am starving. We gotta eat it. I can't wait to taste it. That looks so good. For such a simple soup, it has so much flavor. It's so good. It's so good. You have the nuttiness of the corn that we toasted. You have that dark, earthy flavor of the black beans. There's the tang from the Greek yogurt I added, and of course that ooey gooey cheese. This is definitely one of my favorite new recipes that I've found lately. If you found any great recipes, go ahead and drop me a comment below. Again, I want to thank Taste of Home for giving me the basis to this recipe. It's a really super adaptable recipe that anyone can make fit into their diet goals. So what do you guys think? Will you give this recipe a try? Definitely comment below, let me know. I appreciate you so much for watching this video. I'd love to know if you try the recipe. It's definitely become a weekly staple in my house. It's so budget friendly. It costs maybe $6 or $7 to make an entire pot of soup that will last a couple of days. Unless your kids are like mine. My kids like to just eat bowls and bowls of it at a time, so we rarely have leftovers. So until next time, I'll see you real soon. It's so good. It's so good.